The energy industry is going to be very strongly affected by the supply and demand balance in markets, and that's just a fundamental issue. A lot of the price formation is based on perceptions of supply and demand issues. So if you have a geopolitical factor that emerges, it's going to be how does the community, the trading community, the buyers and the sellers perceive the potential shortfalls on supply or surges in demand. So if you ever have an issue in an upstream country where there seems to be some perturbation, that will have an effect on pricing. If you have any sort of major effect on this demand side, that'll reduce the demand. So for the last several years, there's been a serious suppression of demand because of the economic situation, and that's something that we need to watch going forward. On the supply side, the minute you interfere with any of the transit issues or there's not proper investment in infrastructure over the longer term, that also tends to be an issue. Well, energy security actually has two parts to the equation. Part of it is energy security of supply, and the other one is security of demand. And the in-between parts is the whole transit issue. The best approach would be to have a dialogue and agreement amongst all parties on access for investing in the upstream, access for investing in the midstream, and then access to customers at the end. I could almost call that a utopia scenario. If there's some lack of trust or confidence, or there's uncertainty or over-dependence, the solution to security of supply risks has been known for quite some time. You want to diversify your technologies, you want to diversify your supply sources, you want to diversify your primary energy mix, and those are the appropriate responses if you think that you've got a serious supply risk. At some point, you have to pay attention to what are the economic costs of diversification. And if they are excessive, then you're incurring a penalty for your insurance policy. So all of these are factors that should be taken into consideration. Well, the first question to ask is, what do we mean by sustainable energy? There's a broad range of countries who consider sustainability as linked to the climate agenda. And that is legitimate. We are in the process of burning our planet, cooking our planet, I can say. And this is an issue that absolutely needs to be addressed. But there's a whole other group of countries for whom sustainable energy is getting access to the energy needed for development. Those are not agendas that are in conflict, but they need to be resolved in an integrated way. So what UNECE is working on is how do you achieve the sustainable development goals that have been agreed, and how do you reduce the economic footprint, the environmental footprint, of the energy sector. So we are developing best practices, regulations, normative instruments for cleaner electricity, for natural gas, for coal sector. We're also promoting energy efficiency and renewables, as well as doing resource classification. So it's quite a broad range of topics that we're looking at, but we're working explicitly with industry to make sure we're getting the question right and making sure that we've got the right experts to get the answer right, which is the important part.